Hello, Grove Upper, Miss Jacobs here, and we are going to talk about money today. That's one of my most favorite things to talk about. And I know it's one of yours too, because I know you receive a lot of money for your birthdays and Christmas and things. All right, so let's talk about how money is related to fractions and decimals. We can write money using a decimal. When you go to the store, you see that as you are looking at price tags. We can also write money using a fraction, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. But before we get started, let's remember what a dollar is. When I think about a dollar, I'm thinking of 100 cents. And I can create that 100 cents by using quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies. Now, let's get started. We're going to talk first of all about a quarter. We know that a quarter is 25 cents. Okay, so when I write 25 cents, the way I'm going to write that as money is I'm going to have a dollar sign, a zero, a decimal, and then at 25 cents. Okay, this is how I would write 25 cents. Now I want to write this as a decimal as well. So to write it as a decimal, I can do it two ways. I can just put a decimal, 25, that's 25 hundredths, or I can write 0 decimal 25, 25 hundredths. I can also write it as a fraction. To write it as a fraction, I'm going to have 25 as my numerator and 100 as my denominator. Because remember, we've got 25 out of 100 cents. Now let's look at a nickel. If I wanted to write a nickel as money, I would write it this way. I would have a dollar sign, 0 decimal. Now it's 5 cents. That's 5 out of 100 cents. So my 5 has to go in the hundredths place. I can't leave my tenths place empty though, so I put a 0 there. So this would be 5 cents. Now I need to write it as a decimal. Again, we can do it two ways. We can do a decimal 0.5, or we can do 0 decimal 0.5. Now when I'm writing it as a decimal, I'm going to say 5 hundredths. And now as I want to write it as a fraction, again, you just heard me say it, 5 hundredths. So it's 5 out of 100 cents, 5 hundredths. Now in today's lesson, what you're going to be doing is writing money the same way that I just did. Let me show you your worksheet right here. It looks like this. You're going to be given some money, and you've got to add it up and then write it as money, as a decimal, and as a fraction. Let me give you an example really quick. Okay? So let's look at, what if I had 2 quarters? I'm going to put 2Q for 2 quarters, 1 dime, and 2 pennies. Now I need to add up all of that money to see how much I have. So let's think 2 quarters. We know 1 quarter is 25 cents, so that means 2 quarters would be 50 cents. I'm going to write it to the side. 1 dime is 10 cents, and 2 pennies is 2 cents. Now let's add up all of that money, and we get 62 cents. Now let's write it in money form. Dollar sign, 0 decimal 62. 62 cents. Now I want you to write it as a decimal. Well, you can either write it as decimal 62, or you could write it as 0 decimal 62, and that is 62 hundredths. And finally, I want to write it as a fraction, 62 over 100, 62 hundredths. That is how we can relate money, fractions, and decimals. Guys, I hope you have a great day. Good luck on your worksheet. And guys, let's make it rain.